You won't believe what went down when Blueface ran into NLE Choppa. This wasn't just another street scuffle. It was pure chaos. Live in the streets, and the cameras didn't lie. Tensions were already sky-high, and the moment these two heavyweights faced off, the energy flipped instantly. Fans watching couldn't keep up, the crowd was screaming, phones were recording, and every second felt like it could explode into something way bigger. Blueface, known for his unpredictable antics, stepped up with confidence, but NLE Choppa wasn't backing down either. Every word, every movement was dripping with aggression, and it was clear that neither was leaving without leaving a mark. Rumors had been circulating for weeks, but now the world saw it unfold live, a confrontation that could change street dynamics, fan loyalties, and maybe even careers. Was this a heated misunderstanding, or a deep-rooted feud finally boiling over? People online are still debating who provoked who, but one thing's certain, this fight has everyone talking, tweeting, and sharing clips at lightning speed. The drama isn't just in the action, it's in the stakes. Blueface versus NLE Choppa is more than a clash, it's a statement, a warning, and a moment that will be replayed over and over in the hip-hop community. Get ready, because what you're about to witness is raw, unfiltered, and the kind of tension that makes history in the rap game. Every second counts, every look matters, and the fallout? It's just getting started. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife as Blueface and NLE Choppa squared off, mere feet apart, in the chaos of the crowd. Everyone around them knew this wasn't just some street scuffle, it was a collision of reputations, a clash that could ripple through the rap scene for weeks. Phones were recording every move, every expression, as fans screamed for drama and confrontation alike. You could hear the bass from nearby cars pounding, almost like a soundtrack to the brewing storm. Blueface, always unpredictable, flexed his confidence, smirking while scanning the crowd. He knew this moment was bigger than just him. Every move, every reaction would be analyzed online, memed, and dissected by fans hungry for every snippet of confrontation. NLE Choppa's stance was sharp, deliberate, eyes locked on Blueface like a predator sizing up his prey. The crowd sensed it immediately. The space between them crackled with unspoken words, the tension ready to ignite at any second. It all started earlier that day. Rumors of disrespect had flown online, subtle jabs in songs, Instagram comments, cryptic tweets, but nothing prepared anyone for this face-to-face encounter. Blueface had been walking through the area, unaware that NLE Choppa's crew was already tracking his movements. As soon as he stepped out, it was like someone hit a switch. Suddenly, the playful banter of fans turned into shouting, the energy escalating faster than anyone could predict. By now, cameras were everywhere, capturing the clash from every angle. Social media lit up instantly. Clips of the two rappers glaring at each other went viral in minutes. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Blueface versus NLE. Hashtag RapBeef 2026. Hashtag Street Drama. The world was watching, glued to their screens, debating who would back down first. For Blueface, this was more than just proving himself. It was about protecting his name, his legacy, and showing that he wouldn't fold under pressure. For NLE Choppa, the fight was personal too. Years of street credibility and respect were on the line, and backing down wasn't an option. The crowd closed in tighter, forming a natural circle around the two rappers. Voices rose, yelling warnings, egging them on, but neither Blueface nor NLE Choppa flinched. Every subtle movement, shoulder shifts, hand gestures, the way they carried themselves, was calculated, feeding the tension like gasoline on fire. At one point, NLE Choppa took a step forward, and the crowd collectively gasped. Blueface mirrored the move, leaning in with that signature smirk that made fans love him and fear him at the same time. It wasn't just a standoff, it was a chess match, each rapper measuring the other, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, whether verbally or physically. Security tried to intervene, but the intensity was unmatched. Everyone could feel it. This wasn't something they could just break up with a gentle push. The history between the two was messy, tangled with previous beefs, social media shade, and subtle dislines that had been ignored, or so everyone thought. Now, with the confrontation unfolding in real life, Every onlooker realized just how serious this was. You could almost hear the collective heartbeat of the crowd, a tense rhythm that matched the pulsing energy of the rapper's presence. Blueface decided to break the silence first, his voice carrying over the din. "Y'all really thought I was scared? Nah, I'm here for every word." The crowd roared, feeding into the frenzy. NLE Choppa responded, low and deliberate, "You stepped in my lane. Now you finna see what that costs." Every syllable, every pause was loaded with weight. This wasn't just a fight, it was a lesson in respect, reputation, and street survival. As the verbal exchange escalated, fans around them began recording nonstop, the air thick with anticipation. Clips were already hitting Twitter and Instagram before the fight even started. Analysts, bloggers, and fans dissected every frame, the intensity in Blueface's eyes, the composure of NLE Choppa, the shifting energy of the surrounding crowd. Every second mattered because in this digital age, one misstep could be magnified to millions instantly. Suddenly, the first real contact happened. Blueface took a sudden step forward, shoving lightly, testing boundaries, and the crowd erupted. NLE Choppa didn't hesitate, he squared up, fists tight, moving with calculated aggression. The circle of onlookers parted instinctively as the energy surged, almost like a live wire ready to discharge. Security tried to grab Blueface, but he twisted away, feeding the spectacle. NLE Choppa's crew circled, watching, ready to react if things spiraled further. Fans were screaming, some cheering, some shouting warnings. Social media feeds exploded in real time. Blueface versus NLE Choppa is officially on. This is insane, mid-street chaos. Who's gonna back down first? Every tweet, comment, and story amplified the intensity, spreading the confrontation worldwide in minutes. Amid the chaos, both rappers knew this moment would define the street's narrative for weeks. This wasn't just about a fight, it was about pride, power, and the subtle art of proving dominance in the hip-hop world. Blueface movements were deliberate, almost theatrical, making sure cameras captured the raw tension. NLE Choppa matched him blow for blow in expression, letting fans witness every subtle reaction. Then, the unthinkable happened, a sudden lunge from the edge of the circle, someone trying to escalate physically beyond the standoff. Security had to intervene violently, pushing the instigator back. The crowd gasped, realizing how close the situation had come to spiraling out of control. But Blueface and NLE Choppa stayed in the moment, locked onto each other, knowing that even one wrong move could turn this into something far bigger than anyone expected. Minutes felt like hours as the standoff continued. Sweat glistened, voices rose, and the energy remained electric. Fans would later recount that moment as pure chaos, a live spectacle that captured the raw, unfiltered edge of rap beef culture. By the time both rappers stepped back slightly, the crowd erupted, not in relief, but in awe. They had witnessed something rare, a confrontation steeped in tension, respect, and the unpredictable drama that only real hip-hop beef can create. This was more than a fight. This was a statement. A warning. A clash that would echo across social media, news outlets, and street corners for weeks to come. Blueface and NLE Choppa had proven, in one dramatic encounter, that when respect is questioned, when history and reputation are on the line, the streets and the world watch every move. And while this standoff ended without major physical damage, the tension, the anticipation, and the raw energy left everyone around shaken, buzzing, and hungry for more. Every fan, every follower, and every street observer knew this wasn't over. It was just the beginning. The aftermath of the mid-street standoff left the crowd buzzing, phones still recording every second as Blueface and NLE Choppa backed away slightly, eyes never leaving each other. But even in that short pause, it was clear this wasn't over. The tension hung in the air like smoke from a gunshot, heavy and unavoidable. Every onlooker knew the energy hadn't dissipated. It was just waiting for the next spark. Blueface crew immediately started circling him, murmurs of strategies and verbal war plans flying through the crowd. He ran his fingers through his hair, a smirk playing on his lips, not from fear, but from the sheer intensity of the spectacle. He knew the footage going viral was already enough to ignite the streets and the internet. Every camera, every phone was capturing him in that moment of dominance, his persona larger than life. Social media blew up instantly, hashtags trending, live streams buzzing, and fans debating who would come out on top. NLE Choppa didn't flinch. His eyes, sharp and focused, scanned the surrounding area as his own crew regrouped. The energy in the circle was palpable. Even security stood cautiously, aware that one wrong move could erupt the scene into chaos. NLE's lips curled into a small grin. It wasn't fear, it was anticipation. Every step Blueface had taken earlier, every smirk, had been noted. Every subtle gesture would be responded to, calculated to shift the narrative in his favor. As the rappers faced off once more, words began to fly. Blueface's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "You think you can come at me and walk away clean? Not today, not ever." The crowd roared in response. NLE Choppa fired back, measured but cold. "Respect is earned. You crossed a line, now you're gonna feel the heat." Every syllable was loaded, every pause deliberate. It wasn't just about pride, it was a chess game played live, each verbal jab escalating the stakes. The standoff intensified when a rival faction in the crowd shouted, trying to provoke a physical clash. Security's presence had grown, pushing spectators back, but the rappers remained locked in their silent war. The tension wasn't just on the streets, it was digital, spreading to thousands of viewers in real time, making every glance, every movement, a spectacle watched worldwide. Clips of Blueface's smirk, NLE's poised stance, and the crowd's energy flooded TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Within minutes, the story was trending. Hashtag Blueface vs NLE, hashtag Street Beef 2026, hashtag Rap Drama. But then, the unexpected happened. A sudden movement from the edge of the circle, a fan or crew member trying to escalate, nearly set off chaos. Security lunged, separating them before violence could erupt, but the near miss only added fuel to the fire. Both rappers didn't flinch. In fact, the intensity grew. Blueface's gaze hardened, nostrils flaring slightly as adrenaline surged. NLE Choppa's jaw tightened, his eyes flashing in a silent promise that he wasn't backing down. Words escalated into insults and accusations. Blueface jabbed verbally at NLE's authenticity and street cred, while NLE struck back at Blueface's past controversies and public missteps. The crowd fed into the drama, cheers and jeers echoing off nearby walls. This wasn't just a clash of personalities, it was a full-on war for reputation, influence, and dominance in the streets and online. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The rappers circled each other slowly, like predators, each movement precise, calculated. A sudden laugh from Blueface cut through the tension, taunting, daring NLE to make the next move. NLE responded with a subtle smirk, his posture rigid, ready to counter at any second. Every onlooker knew this was more than entertainment. It was a live demonstration of strategy, courage, and raw emotion. Meanwhile, social media's reaction intensified. Clips were stitched into memes, reaction videos popped up, and fans dissected every interaction. Analysts debated who had the psychological edge, while street followers speculated about what would happen next. The digital world had become an extension of the real-life standoff, amplifying every gesture, every word, every glance. Then, without warning, NLE made a calculated advance. Not a full charge, not a reckless move, but just enough to push the crowd to the edge. Blueface reacted immediately, stepping forward with a flare of bravado, fists clenched but still controlled. The crowd's roar reached a fever pitch. People were screaming, cameras shaking, live streams buffering, but nobody could look away. This was raw, unfiltered hip-hop drama at its peak. Somewhere in the chaos, a fan shouted, "Fight or respect. You gotta choose." The words seemed to hang in the air, almost a challenge. Both rappers paused, recognition flashing across their eyes. It wasn't just about proving who could throw the hardest punch, it was about legacy, influence, and the street code that governed their every move. One false step, one slip of respect, could define them for years to come. Blueface finally spoke again, his voice low but sharp, "Ain't nobody touching me today." You know the streets see everything. The words weren't just a warning. They were a declaration. NLE's eyes narrowed, his lips forming a quiet smirk as he countered. Then we settle it smart. Not reckless. The streets respect that. The standoff had shifted subtly, raw energy still high, but strategy entering the mix. As minutes passed, both crews subtly began to move in, guiding their respective rappers, keeping the balance between confrontation and control. The energy never waned. The crowd felt the electricity, knowing something monumental had just taken place. Even as security maintained the perimeter, the underlying tension was unmistakable. Phones kept flashing, cameras rolling, clips uploaded in real time to millions of followers worldwide. In that charged moment, it became clear this wasn't a simple fight. It was a statement, a warning, a narrative for the streets and the internet to debate endlessly. Every word, every glance, every smirk, every step had been calculated to send a message. Respect, influence, and reputation were not negotiable. By the time Blueface and NLE Choppa began to step back, the tension hadn't subsided, it had evolved. The confrontation had shifted into a psychological battle, with both rappers claiming victory without throwing a single full-on punch. The crowd erupted, not in relief, but in awe. Fans would later recall this moment as iconic, a masterclass in street presence, strategy, and hip-hop drama. And as the two rappers separated, the world knew the story wasn't over. Social media still burned with clips, reaction videos, memes, and debates. Every post, every share, every comment kept the beef alive. Blueface had shown audacity. NLE Choppa had demonstrated patience and precision. The streets, the fans, and the internet collectively acknowledged this clash would echo through rap culture for months, if not years, to come. The air still vibrated with energy as both rappers disappeared into the night, crews flanking them, fans still whispering and recording. The battle wasn't just over, they had set the stage for the next chapter, one that promised even more intensity, surprises, and raw drama. The night air was thick with anticipation. Even after stepping away from the immediate chaos, Blueface and NLE Choppa could feel the weight of the streets on their shoulders. Every eye, every camera, every online stream was still glued to them, replaying moments, analyzing stares, and dissecting every word exchanged. But in that quiet after the storm, a new energy began to rise, the kind that only comes when a clash isn't just physical, but symbolic. Blueface's crew tightened around him, whispering warnings, strategies, and encouragement. He ran his fingers along the chain hanging from his neck, smirking at the thought of the viral clips exploding across social media. But deep down, he knew this wasn't about likes or views. It was about respect, legacy, and asserting dominance in a game where one wrong move could erase years of reputation. His mind replayed every angle, every insult, every subtle jab that NLE Choppa had thrown earlier. He knew the next step had to be decisive. Meanwhile, NLE Choppa paced slightly, never losing focus. The crowd had thinned, but the tension lingered, palpable in every corner. His crew was vigilant, scanning for any misstep from Blueface or any opportunistic rival ready to escalate the situation. He flexed his hands, not in aggression, but in preparation, like a predator measuring the next move of his target. Every fan reaction online, every clip shared, every heated comment fueled the fire in his chest. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a declaration that he wouldn't be underestimated. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A new challenger, or perhaps an opportunist, emerged from the shadows, a known affiliate of another street faction, eyeing the tension as a chance to stir chaos. Security's instincts kicked in immediately, moving to intercept, but the presence of an unexpected third party only intensified the drama. Both rappers froze for a moment, eyes locking with mutual understanding. This wasn't the distraction they needed, but it wouldn't derail the energy either. Blueface took a deliberate step forward, voice low but sharp, slicing through the thick silence. This ain't just street talk. This is respect, and you know I don't play. NLE Choppa mirrored the movement, his tone calm but dangerous. You think flexin' online and on the streets is enough? Nah. You gotta prove it when it counts. The verbal exchange had evolved into a duel of wills, each syllable charged with intent, every pause a calculated threat. Fans in the nearby vicinity couldn't help but react audibly. Cheers, shouts, and gasps bounced off the walls, amplifying the tension. Phones rose like a sea of glowing lights, capturing every second, ready to immortalize whatever came next. Social media was already erupting, clips of the earlier standoff resurfaced, stitched with live reactions and commentary. Hashtag Blueface vs NLE Choppa was trending across platforms. Analysts, fans, and influencers debated who held the upper hand. Every view, every like, every comment added weight to the psychological battlefield unfolding before them. Then, the moment arrived. Not with a reckless punch, not with chaos, but with precision. Blueface feinted a step, measuring the reactions, testing the defenses. NLE Choppa mirrored instinctively, muscles tensed, eyes locked, ready to react to any misstep. The crowd held its collective breath. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a performance of strategy, dominance, and calculated aggression. Words flew again, each more charged than before. Blueface jabbed at NLE's credibility, calling out past controversies and missteps, while NLE struck back with precision, attacking Blueface's public image, his street persona, and his influence. Each verbal volley escalated the tension, feeding both the crowd and the digital audience. But neither rapper crossed into reckless aggression. They knew the power of control, of timing, and of perception. Minutes stretched, the intensity unrelenting. Crews subtly guided their respective leaders, ensuring the balance between confrontation and order. Security maintained perimeter control, but the energy refused to be contained. Cameras captured every glance, every smirk, every subtle gesture, a masterclass in street drama and psychological warfare. Finally, Blueface spoke, voice carrying authority and defiance. You wanted smoke, Choppa. But you know this is Harlem energy. Streets respect it, online respects it. I ain't backing down. NLE Choppa's response was measured, sharp, and loaded. Respect isn't given. It's earned. Tonight, you just proved that the streets watch, but I still control the narrative. The crowd erupted once more, not in violence, but in awe. The rappers had traded dominance without a single devastating punch. The power of the moment lay in restraint, in the command of presence, in the understanding that every movement was a statement. Social media exploded further. Reaction videos, memes, debates, and expert breakdowns flooded every platform. Fans dissected every second, crafting arguments for their chosen champion. As the night drew on, both Blueface and NLE Choppa began to step back, crews flanking them, eyes still locked. The tension had transformed from potential chaos into controlled spectacle, a duel of wills that left the audience and internet buzzing. Every gesture, word, and smirk had left a mark, a story that would be shared, dissected, and remembered. The streets had witnessed more than a fight, they had witnessed a cultural moment. The digital world had amplified it, cementing it as a defining clash in modern rap history. Blueface had shown audacity, boldness, and street savvy. NLE Choppa had displayed strategy, patience, and psychological precision. The outcome wasn't about a winner or loser, it was about legacy, influence, and respect earned through presence and command. By the time both rappers disappeared into the night with their crews, the energy remained, electrifying every onlooker and online viewer. Clips would circulate for months, fans would debate endlessly, and analysts would break down every angle. One thing was certain, Blueface vs NLE Choppa had redefined street confrontations for a new era of digital hip-hop drama. The city buzzed, social media roared, and the narrative continued to evolve. The streets had spoken. The internet had magnified it. And both rappers had ensured that their clash would remain unforgettable, a masterclass in tension, drama, and the art of controlled conflict.